Well, GM, NFT NYC community, thank you for joining me on this fireside chat. My name is Mona, and Ian has been gracious to invite me and share the stage with me today to give you guys a little taste of what is to come at NFT NYC and London, and actually introduce you guys and give you a little taste of the amazing and incredible speakers that are going to be there on stage, sharing a wealth of knowledge and information with you. So I am just so excited to be here with you today. We're excited to have you at NFT NYC London, which is taking place on November 3rd and 4th. But before we talk more and I tell you more about myself, let me Ian Ian on, because I just don't want him to feel left out on his own show.
Well,
Hi,
today,
Ian.
today it's our show. And
thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad to get a moment one-on-one with you. Really appreciated all the wonderful interviews that you did at NFT NYC in June. So glad you were a part of that. I got to come onto your Metaverse Express show and answer some of your audience's questions, which I thought was a lot of fun. And I thought, it'd be great for the community to get to know you, because you'll be with us at NFT London. I think you and I will collaborate on lots of different things like we've done today. But this is a chance for me to let the audience know a bit about you. So folks that are watching, thanks for your attention. And I think you'll enjoy this a lot. So Mona, you have a journalist background.
Yes.
That's very clear when you're on camera and the way you interview people. You're very professional. You're like the opposite, yin and yang.
That's not true.
I'm like the least professional journalist of all time. I just like to interview people and learn from them and celebrate them a bit different.
You're very organic. You're very organic. And I love that about your delivery. And to be honest, that's what people connect to. People connect to organic, and that's what you bring. And it's exquisite.
Oh, well, that's kind of you to say. For the purpose of this conversation, I do want to start just with your background. How did you did you have a crypto light story, right? Was there a moment that you saw DeFi or cryptocurrency or web for your metaverse or NFTs? Tell us a bit about what attracted you. And then maybe you could talk about your story and how did you go from learning about it to becoming enamored with it to really starting to do a lot of research to become a specialist in these different things that are happening, and then to start Metaverse Express. So please tell us a bit about that.
Oh my goodness. Where to begin? To know who I am today, I kind of would have to tell you where I come from, really. I'm an Iranian immigrant who was brought to the States at a very young age to kind of escape the oppression of the Iranian regime on women. I don't know if you know what's going on in Iran now, but what is happening right now on the streets of Iran is exactly why many women like myself were moved or are leaving or have left Iran. And, I've been fortunate enough to be one of the lucky ones, and I paved my way solo to who I am today and be here with you. I am a broadcast journalist, and I'm actually also a TV commercial and documentary producer. I worked here in Central Florida locally at a TV news station for a long time until I was introduced to crypto, and life changed. Then it's kind of like there is life before crypto and life after crypto, and that is all that is now. But my life really did change. I'm not even kidding. I left my news career, believe it or not, to invest all my tokens on myself and lose half of it. And everybody thought I was absolutely insane. They thought I was insane to leave my news career. But I wanted to be a part of building Web3 and the metaverse. As crazy as it sounds, I'm radical. If you can't tell, I know it looks all professional on the outside, but I am a radical woman right here. I saw an opportunity. I saw an opportunity, especially for women. When I came in about 2 years ago, there were not a lot of women. And I saw an opportunity to join this incredibly radical and passionate community who wants to build this next iteration of not just the internet, but also media, film, TV, streaming, ticketing, as we were talking about earlier, gaming, art, and even news. And that's what I'm doing. I believe we're going to consume content, and we're consuming content very differently now, especially news content. We don't watch news the way we used to. And I think we're going to do it via blockchain. We're going to do it via NFTs and this watch to earn model, which is extremely valuable and very fascinating to me. So, I'm here to collaborate with builders and creators and bring this next iteration of news media to Web3. And on this journey, I believe it's now, because I am here, it's my responsibility to educate and break down this process to bite-sized pieces for the 90% of the folks out there who are non-crypto natives, especially women, and provide, gateway opportunities for women to come on board to build not just Web3, but also their future. So that's my Web3 story in a nutshell.
Well, I like the story. Thank you for sharing with us. I want to ask your opinion about the industry. So we'll just call it the Web3 industry. For the Web3 industry, let's start with your critique. What are you most critical about in the industry, and why do you see it that way?
If I be honest, and because I come from a journalistic background, I think there is how do I put this? A mishmash of information. So it's very difficult to decide what is fact and what is not. And we have this, saying in this space, DYOR, and it's so critical to do your own research in this phase at this moment, because nobody came from a crypto background. Nobody has a master's degree in crypto and Web3. We're all building together, learning together. YouTube has been our best professor, if you will. But that is a double-edged sword. That's like a blessing and a curse. And we really have to be careful the information we put out there for the 90% of non-crypto users or natives, because that is one of the reasons why crypto and NFTs are so misunderstood right now, because of how they were introduced to our big picture world, if you will. So, and that's why I feel like me as a journalist, I have to do my part of giving the folks unbiased information and giving factual information. And that's a lot of work for us, because we have to do the right research, we have to do the right collaboration. And as you know yourself, you and I both learned through interviewing builders and creators and people that are doing real work in the industry. And that's really the only way right now. So it's our job to take that information and educate and give people factual information.
Well, I invited you to critique, so I'll invite you to celebrate. But this, I would like to know what you celebrate in the Web3 industry that maybe others don't seem to publicly celebrate. What are a thing or some things that you just really light your fire? You just think this is amazing, but maybe it's not talked about. It's not the thing that everybody's banging the drum for. Tell us a bit about that.
none of it is talked about. It's very little is talked about. And sometimes I pinch myself, because how often is this real? How often do we have the opportunity to build something so massive? We're building a whole iteration of a new world, a digital world, and it's inevitable. It's happening. And how often can you say, I was right there when nobody believed us, when nobody saw the light at the end of the tunnel? And that's so exciting to me. I know that there's a risk tolerance for for people, but it's exhilarating, because that's how I am. I'm always doing things on the edge, and I love that feeling. So I think what's to celebrate is being part of something so incredibly big and innovative, and we're building it for the next generation. We're building it for our kids, because our kids are not going to bank the way we do. They're not going to communicate the way we do. If you recall, when we were 9 years old and we had pagers, and then AOL came, and we told our grandparents, and they said, what, pagers, AOL, email? Why do you need to email? Just write a letter, put it in the mail. Nobody understood us. So we are now building this next iteration of the internet, and frankly, a new world for the generation that's behind us. And if that's not exciting and that is not to be celebrated, I don't know what is.
I love that perspective. Can you talk a bit about your perspective being an immigrant? We live in a culture that is really mindful of us, right? We're very thoughtful of the first world and all the things that are on our mind and the things that we're trying to deal with. But 2/3 of the world is not developed in the same way that, our America, as an example, or much of Europe, as an example, is. Yeah. Because you are an immigrant, you have a different perspective, I'm assuming, in terms of the whole of humanity, the 8 billion people that are on the earth. What are your thoughts around Web3? How do you think we're doing as an industry to be inviting immigrants into this, to be trying to reach out to the developing world with the automation that's now available for consumers through NFTs and smart contracts? Tell us your thoughts on that, please.
Wow, that's such it's a deeper question, but, I think Web3 is very borderless. There are no borders at this point. And I think for the first time ever, people in the Middle East, people in Asia, people in Africa, who didn't have opportunities for a bright future. And, we all came here to have a bright future. But that ability is not something that everyone can do. And how amazing is it to now be able to offer an opportunity of growth and for individuals to build a life for themselves where they are, but having access to the same exact information and opportunities that we have access to. One of the amazing projects that really stand out to me was Axie Infinity, that gave opportunities to people in the Philippines during COVID who were struggling to make ends meet, to make money for themselves and their families. And to know that we can do that across the world. We can do that in Iran, where women don't have a voice. They can now tap into NFTs and create amazing art and sell that to anybody around the world. It's funny because just through what Iran is going right now, they shut off the internet. But Elon just came out recently and saying through, is it Starlink? Yeah, it's Starlink. He's going to offer internet access. So it's just, we're living in this world that you can't tell people in oppressed countries, you can't. that is no more. That is no longer. We're offering through Web3 and technology freedom of speech, human rights, and opportunities for people to build a successful future. And that's really exciting to me as an immigrant.
I'm glad I asked that question. Let's touch on your perspective on women in Web3.
Yeah.
I think I've interviewed about half the people I've interviewed have been women. I've been really intentional about that. So probably maybe as many as 300 different women that I've been able to interview in context of NFT NYC the last 4 years. Some are really passionate about women in Web3. Some see it from a different light, like we're all in Web3 and everything in between. But many of them have worked so hard to create space for newer people like you to come in. And you're a powerful woman, so you must have a perspective on women in Web3. And in terms of that effort as an industry, as a community, how are we doing? And maybe from your perspective, what is the goal amongst the situation? And maybe where are some areas for potential growth?
Yeah, when I started a couple of years ago, and it was actually during COVID, I noticed right away, I was like, wow, this is a male-dominated industry and space. It wasn't until even actually when events first started right after COVID, I started attending events, and I even, I could probably count the number of women who were attending events with maybe two hands. And so you stand out, but at the same time, because you stand out, you really have to carry that weight, because people want to know, who are you? Why are you here? What do you know? Can you speak? Do you understand our language? So you right away, you kind of have that pressure on you. But the thing about it is there are just some incredibly intelligent builders and creators out there who are women. We have, women engineers, women scientists, women programmers, women, artists who would love to join. But I think initially we were a little intimidating. And frankly, a lot of women at the time thought they have to come in through crypto. And there were a lot of women that were just not interested in crypto. But now, as we have evolved and we're getting better and better at it, I think when NFTs came in, things started to change, because women love to be creative and women love communities. And I think that finally came through with NFTs. So now women are looking at art and coming in through that gateway. They're looking at, oh, wow, there are communities. I can, my voice can be heard. My mission can be heard. So I think we're doing much better via NFTs and the NFT projects. And I think it's just going to get better and better. And frankly, the more we talk about it and the more we educate, we have a lot of women communities now with some incredible projects. I think the more voice we give them and the more light we shine on them, it will encourage more women, even on the engineering side, even on the computer science side, to come in and build that side of it as well.
I like that. I'm going to ask you about if you were invited to be a co-founder of a Web3 company. So this could be any blockchain. This could be any layer 2, any video games, any of the metaverse companies, but you've seen a lot out there. And of course, your answer is going to be based likely somewhat on assumptions, right? You're not there, you don't know. But when you look at some of the companies that exist, is there any that you look at and you think, gosh, I wish I was a part of that from the very beginning? Like an example for me, like I wish I was hanging out with Roham and Mick at Dapper Labs in the very beginning, because in 2017, Dapper Labs, like what they did with CryptoKitties, changed my entire perspective of distributed ledger technology, what it was capable of. So I've often thought, man, I should have reached out to those guys and try to jump in and be a part of it early on. But that's my question, because you're going to have your own perspective. You see a lot of things. I'd love to know what organization maybe you honor so much that you think to yourself, I really would have loved to provide me and the value I bring to that effort?
I'm going to give you a really radical answer. I want to be a part of the Mona Media organization because we don't have news in Web3 yet. And that's mind blowing to me. And I don't want to say that loud enough. You know, there was a news actually trade. It was like a event in Las Vegas where all the broadcasters, traditional broadcasters, were attending, and my producer, who helps me with my news and my stories, she was there, and she was talking about Web3 and how she's a part of this, news media source in Web3. And she came back to me and she said, Mona, everyone was looking at me like I was absolutely insane. And that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me that CNN is not here yet. It's crazy to me that NBC is not here yet, that the Golf Channel is not here yet. They're very cautiously looking at Web3 and the metaverse, but news is not here yet. And I want to be a part of that. And I want to be the CEO of Web3 news media. Because how incredible is it to say that there's an opportunity to actually do that, right? That doesn't happen very often. And so to answer your question, that's who I want to be and where I want to be.
I love the confident answer. That is my style. I like that a lot. Okay, well, based on that answer, maybe we can wrap our interview with this. We all are familiar with the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, right? He has a drink in a hand and a cigarette, and he's pointing at the TV. That I'm assuming there are a bunch of other media people that heard your answer, and that's how I feel. I want to be part of like creating media around me and what I bring to the table. So,
yes,
with that in mind, that you maybe touched a chord with other content creators that feel similar. What do you think is most needed? So what would be one or more things that if they came your way, it would really accelerate the process for you to do this? And there's no right or wrong answer. I'm intrigued at what you might say.
ROI, definitely ROI. How do we step away from the traditional news model and introduce the news watch to earn model without the advertising that currently fuels traditional news? So this marriage of news and Web3 in a sense of how do we make money? Because at the end of the day, that's really what it's about. To not be centralized, that is a conversation that must happen with news experts coming together with Web3 experts and talking about what does the next iteration of news media is going to look like in Web3.
Okay, then one more question. I can't help it.
Go ahead.
If ROI is the driving thing that would make the difference for you and likely a bunch of other journalists, content creators, newscasters, whatever title they want to put on themselves, if you could wave your magic wand and create a piece of technology that automates what you do and would bake in ROI, what type of things might you imagine a software doing to solve some of these current problems that maybe you don't know of? And somebody can put in the comments, oh, you don't know this thing exists, or that doesn't exist. And maybe you're going to speak it forth. Someone's going to hear it, get inspired, and build out something that you think is needed.
There's so many things that we can do to bring automation in news. And there's so many things we can do to attract viewers to our content and platform. Certainly, what we're doing right now with Watch to Earn is very, very fascinating and interesting. But even how we get the news, as a news producer, the moment you show up to the newsroom and sit down and you say, the first thing you have to do is, okay, what is the news today? What do you think? How do you think we figure that out? We go on Twitter. Twitter is the #1 source for news stations, well, excluding AP, for us to see what's new. Well, who's talking about what? Because news comes instantaneously on Twitter. So, but that's, if you really think about that's not the easiest way of getting news. It's not smart, right? So to come up with ways that news is generated for the channel, I think that's a huge area to talk about. And then viewers, just what is the easiest way to bring viewers to the channel, to bring eyeballs to your content and make it interesting, right? Because news can be boring. And because it has to be so factual, it can really come across boring. So engagement, is a lot of conversations to have with engagement with news, because it's really tricky with entertainment. There's a gray area there, entertainment and news, because you want news to be factual and you want it to be very informative and to the point. How can we make that engaging? How can we make that fun to keep people engaged and to keep them here? So there's a lot of different areas that I can think of that we can work on to make this seamless moving forward.
I'm so glad that you joined me.
And with that, hold on one second.
It's okay. I'm gonna pop this on anyways. Everybody that's tuning into our conversation, thank you for your attention. Come join us November 3rd and 4th in London. We are excited to bring NFT NYC and the community to Europe for the first time, and it's wonderful to have friends and media partners like Mona. Everybody have a very happy day, and I'll see all of you soon with another one of these interviews.
Thank you, Ian.